All right. Well, this is part two. I guess you can't listen to music on YouTube. Apparently, it's you would think that the artist would want you to, people to hear their songs and stuff, but apparently on YouTube, they just will block it because they don't want you to hear their songs or listen to their songs or use their songs in the video. So I won't be playing any music. Well, maybe I can play like some classical music or something, and they won't have copyrights on it. I don't know. This is retarded. Seems like every time you try and do something, it's just ridiculous. Oh, maybe if I play some Johann Sebastian Bach, I won't get stupid copyright infringements, because I'm pretty sure nobody can copyright Bach or most of these other types of music. Actually, let me just go do that real quick. I'm going to pull up, let's see. Alrighty. I'm going to play the best of Bach, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be copyrighted. Well, I guess we'll find out. Because last time I was talking over my project here, and of course I was listening to music, and well, like I said, you can't listen to music and make a video from YouTube about the what you're doing, because that's against the rules, YouTube's rules. Anyways, let's see here. Maybe I'll just mute it, and then if I feel like talking, I'll talk. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and start up my screen share here, and yeah, I think I'm just gonna mute it for now until I want to talk. So, alrighty. Let me just do like an, I guess like an overview to show you, well, to explain what I was working on. So before I start here. So anyways, I just, obviously I had the concept from the SeaSteading Institute or whatever it's called here on this image, and I was trying to basically recreate this my own version of it. So it's basically just starting off by trying to lay in some paths here to get around, and then trying to come up with like a housing apartment type of style. Of course, I forgot the walls here, as you can see what I mean by this one. I forgot to do the thicker walls here in this first one. Anyways, I have like a bedroom here, the room, bathroom inside of here. I didn't put everything, oops. I didn't put everything in there yet, but Yeah, just to give you an idea. Anyways, today, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna work on yet. I'm just gonna see what I feel like doing here tonight or this morning. So it's about 5 o'clock in the morning here in California. Anyways, this is like the town center where you would have like your buildings and your shops at or something. I was trying to make two of them and then connect it so you wouldn't have to go down below. You can just walk across. And then I just copied and pasted this one. This is the one I did, and then I copied and pasted over here. And basically the idea was that these would be basically like apartments over here, and then these would be like single homes over here. So anyways, let's see what I can't do today here. Well, guess we'll start over here. And it's pretty lame, like this is where I get my enjoyment out of, since we can't build anything in real life unless you have some monopoly money, you know. So, and then all the resources are already owned and controlled by a select few people. So you really can't do anything in real life. I mean, it's just stupid. And the way the world's run today is very destructive. Just watching a video about how they we're pretty much strip mining the earth for rare earth minerals so we can make cars out of them. and they sell it to you as if it's like environmental. These cars are like environmental or something, and they're not. They're like, you know, it's only so many rare earth minerals or metals, whatever they call them metals, but people people call them minerals too. So it's the same thing: metals and minerals, minerals and metals. Some minerals, I guess. But anyways, they're pretty much telling people that that's like environmental, like these cars. And then like it's just like the infrastructure, especially here in the United States. It's just like crazy, everything's so far away that you have to basically. That's like I was watching. Sorry, change subjects, but I was watching this guy's homesteading. He bought his own homestead on land, and he was talking about why he did it because basically he was working full time, lived in New York, and would have to travel like 2 hours to get to work every day. And so by the time he, would by the time when he would get home, he'd spend a couple hours and then get some rest, turn around, and go back to work. And then he said all of his money he would spend all his time working all day, and then all of his money, which is basically his resources, would go. He'd earn so much money, and then he would have to pretty much spend it all on gas or maintenance on his car to get to work. So he's like, we were saying how stupid it was because he was working all the time just to pay for gas to go to work, to buy more gas, to go to work, to buy more gas, to live in his place that he never even got to live in because he was basically at work all the time or gone, driving or some shit. It's like modern society is like that. And that's what happens when you get a bunch of idiots and running everything. They don't typically care, as long as they're making money off of you and they're keeping you in this perpetual state of like arrested development. But yeah, it's the same thing. Let's talk about. We're using up all the rare earth minerals to basically, to create. No, it's smaller. Okay. To create batteries or electric cars. So we're strip mining mountains and stuff that won't ever be there again, but at least somebody has a nice car. I mean, so that's why I think the SeaSteading idea is a good idea because basically, so I came up with a couple different models. I don't just do the SeaSteading modeling thing. I've come up with like a model for building a different style, like housing unit. So, because if you think about it, if you could, in the old days, they, in the old days, everybody pretty much had farms and then lived on their farm and would be able to produce everything and provide everything for themselves. And now today we have like United States is like less than like 15% farmers now, and we're all like put in these cities, and The cities are just crap. But was the ideal thing would be if somebody actually cared, like if the Department of what is it called? That's why I'm saying the United States government's just so um, what's that word called? Incapable, or just uh, basically they're not, they can't do the job. So anyways, um, like if you think about it, the housing, like the cities are just like they don't produce anything. I noticed this when I was went to like Seattle and Oregon and stuff, and seeing all these cities, and nothing in the city. They're not creating anything really in the city, so they're just like constantly like taking things, and it's just like a constant. They're always seeking to look outside of the city to pretty much to get resources, right? So they're not actually creating anything or utilizing the city. So like a different model would be ideal, to where like you wouldn't have to leave like your home or something, or you could, but like ideally you could provide everything for your home or your city inside of your home or your city, like, so if you had the capability to grow all your food inside of your home, like, if you utilize like aquaponics or type of growing like that, you can grow, fish and all your fruits and vegetables within your home, like, vertically inside of your home. You wouldn't have to leave, and then you wouldn't have to go and work to provide yourself with food or whatever. So, and it's the same thing for the cities. Ideally you could provide everything for yourself, but there's just nobody really cares. It seems like everybody's just dead set in going to the going and buying stuff from China or halfway around the world or something, and then not even caring about building or providing anything for themselves. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next here. Basically, what I'm thinking here, these would be like, I'm trying to think. These could be like shopping centers, like not a shopping center, but just like maybe like a restaurants or something. You can go and hang out. And then these could be, I'm trying to think, like these could be water tanks. So it could be pumping water from underneath, and they could be storing water, or they could be used as like greenhouses. Same thing with these, but I think these are, the rectangle shapes are better for vertical growing, because then you got your post on the side, and then things could rotate. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, definitely need water storage out on the ocean. So things could basically be pumped. Like you could have a pump, and then it could figure out a way to pump it, and then heat it, and then separate the salt, and then separate the water, and then you could almost, use that as a resource. So like that could be like a job where where you could basically have it to where you separate the water into your tanks, and then separate the salt. You can bag the salt and then sell it, sea salt. So it's another way to provide jobs and then provide sort of income. That's just an idea. So we'll go. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to use these as. So we got the water tanks. Let's see. kind of like as I go here, I'm trying to identify the things so you know, I know which is what, or what is what, you know, so you can tell. Let's do this first. Go here. Same. Here. Go like this. That could be your water tanks. Oops. And of course, you don't want your water to spill over. It could be, let's see here. Nope, that's not wide. Kind of floating there, but no, it's oops. So one thing that's kind of hard is doing on this thing like that. Alright, like that. And I'll put it like this. Let's see what it looks like there. Okay, cool. Alright, give me a minute. All right, let's see here. So might as well do it for these ones. I mean, you really theoretically could move these anywhere, the water tanks. But since like your main buildings are right here, I guess you could keep them on the inside. You know, because it's gonna feed water to everything. So it's not really. People are really worried about like how everything looks, which is, you know, pretty big deal. And then it's, you also got to have like functionality. You know, your thing's got to be functional. So if it looks good, but it's not very functional, and it's not ideal. You know, it's not something that I would do, at least. I'd rather have something that works good than looks good. Just my personal opinion. Oops. Okay. It's not going to change. Let's see here. Close the bottom out there. There you go. It's messed it up there. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, that's I was watching that homesteading video, and it was the guy was pretty he was right. I mean, like, what's the point in living in a city if like the majority of your time is going to be spent like traveling back and forth, you know, to your job, and then you're like basically all your money is going towards like buying gas to get to your job. It's like flipping retarded. And he said in his video, he's like been a lot happier since he's left that job because he's has the ability to basically, do whatever he wants because it's um, he has that freedom because he's not just working to freaking pay for like his car and stuff or gas and maintenance on his car and stuff. So it's pretty interesting to watch or to hear somebody say that because I understand where he's coming from. It's like it seems like most cities are like that. They're designed like horribly. I mean, they're just stupid. I mean, I don't get it. The transportation just sucks. And then you have to deal with it, right? Because you live in that city or that town or that country. Like the United States is like that. You can't travel anywhere unless you have like some sort of vehicle, or that you have to rely on like uh, transportation. But transportation is just like so outdated and old that it takes you forever to get anywhere. And then it costs so much too. So it's like, what the heck is the deal? And that's what I'm saying. We have the Department of Transportation. It's like, what the hell have they been doing for like decades and decades? It's, I watched. Well, I didn't watch it. I think I was talking to somebody one time, and they were telling me about how the Department of Transportation, like they pay, those guys to come out and to, like fix the roads or whatever, patch the roads, and that's all they do is they patch the road, and then, uh, basically they don't actually like, like a lot of older cities, they would use like bricks and stuff or like stones in the ground because then they could just lift up the broken stone to come back and then replace it. But like paved roads, like if it cracks and you have to like literally go out and cut the part of it and then repave it, and water is going to get through anything, so it's just going to once you pave a road and then cracks in there and you go back and try and fix the crack, it's just never going to be solved. You're just going to constantly be going back and trying to fix it. So that's basically they're saying that it's job security for them. They have job security, so they'll always have a job because there's always going to be a pothole to fill. Because they want it that way. They make sure they have jobs that way. So it's retarded, so retarded. Instead of like doing something so you don't have to go back and do it 20 times, they would rather go back and do it again and 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 again. This is stupid. But that's what taxpayers pay for. We pay for that so they can go out and do it over and over and over again. Okay, that's kind of stupid. Let's see, that's not what I wanted to do here. Sometimes if you don't do the one thing first, you have to delete something like this. Let's see. It's going to be like a greenhouse so you can grow all your food in. Make sure you have, let's see, like support beams here. hate when it does that. Like, things don't line up. Like, what the hell is it doing? And it clearly knows what I'm trying to do. I want to take it this corner to this corner. And it's like wants to put it at an angle like that. It's like, that's not what I want to do. Maybe if I come from this corner over. Yeah, of course. Alright. So I did that so I can let me see. Actually, I don't think that's gonna work. Yeah, just to think about how much the Department of Transportation gets each year, and the Department of Energy. So it's just like it's a scam, and these guys get paid like all this money, and nothing ever gets done because basically they want job security. They don't care about actually like solving something, like it's just about job security for them. So when you got people that are more worried about keeping their job than trying to figure out like what can I do that I'm good at that provides help and that I can basically that I can do something to do something good. That's what I'm saying. You can look up the statistics yourself and look and see how much the Department of Energy and the Department of Transportation get how much their funding is each year, and it's pretty unbelievable. They get paid so much freaking money. It's stupid. But yet nothing's gotten better. I mean, everybody's still driving the same damn cars. They get the same stupid mileage that, I mean, cars have been getting the same mileage for like freaking ever now. They don't get any better. And then now they're, like I said, they're coming out with like they're coming out with the electric cars, and they act like they're all environmental and stuff, which they're not. It's just like a scam. And they don't. I mean, they use the electric off of the electric grid, which is produced by coal or produced by nuclear power plants. So it's like, oh yeah, these are good. The power plants are good, and it's all good, and the nuclear power plants are good, and screw it. There we go. That's easier than trying to do this stupid box thing. So yeah, your electric cars they're mine for the rare earth minerals, and then we got to power the cars, which comes from the electric grid, and then you got to replace the batteries, which is more mining. So it's just like in the long run, it's not any better than uh, cars that we have now. I mean, they cost more, and then they're, you know, like I said, you got to strip mine for the minerals and stuff. So it's just like, how is this environmentally friendly? It's not. But they'll tell you it is. Don't worry, they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's definitely environmentally friendly. Oh yeah, oh yeah, sure it is, sure. So you got your four sides there to support the glass, and then basically you could create. Trying to figure out. Let's see here. We'll do like a rectangular shape, and of course it wants to go the opposite direction, and that's always the case. It's so stupid sometimes. What the fuck deal is about that? Trying to figure this out here. I can't tell if that's a wall or glass right here. Yeah, it's glass. Okay. It could be like plexiglass too. It doesn't have to be actual glass. It's more lightweight. But I mean, you're in the ocean, so there's plenty of sand. Not in the ocean, but in the beaches. So let's try this here. Okay, we'll go. Can't even create a damn straight line. Okay. It's so stupid. I don't understand why it puts it at an angle like that. It's retarded. So that's about that long. Come up so high. I'm thinking about having like a rotating, um, like automated type of deal. I'll show you right now what I'm thinking about. See if I can get this right here first. Try and get it straight. It's not. Probably easier to do this way. To this side. Okay. Oh god, paste that and place it here. Okay. And go like this. Actually, should I move to this? That's not what I wanted to do. Well, it's what I wanted to do, but not where I wanted to do it. So let's do that. Trying to keep that space away from the walls here. It's ridiculous. Okay. It's too wide. So I'm thinking right here, so basically, sometimes I cannot stand this program. It's just kind of irritating to me. It's gonna be stupid. Way quicker, and let's go back. Oops. Yeah, it's like everybody knows, like most cities you live in today are just like, it's just like hot messes. They're just like, I mean, everywhere, anywhere you go, really. I mean, I haven't traveled all over the world, but I've been to some different places around the world, and each one of them's got their own problems that are kind of similar to other ones that are a problem. What I'm thinking is like a conveyor belt here. The only problem is how it could. I guess it really wouldn't even have to. You just let's see. Almost just have like a ladder to crawl up there. I think that would kind of be annoying. No, I guess I wouldn't. It just depends, really. It's Still too damn close to this wall over here, but that's okay. Thinking like a I guess it could work. Basically, it like rotates and now so it comes up. This is the conveyor belt part. Brings them up, shifts it over, drops it down, brings it over, brings it up, shifts it over, brings it down, shifts it, so you're constantly getting sunlight, and then it's being aerated. But then you can also access them all down here at the bottom, so you're not having to crawl up on the top. So I was thinking I did this kind of aquaponics thing type of deal before, and it was on one of my other project things I was working on. So I kind of got the understanding of how it could work. I've seen these things work before. I'm just not going to get super detailed into designing it here. It's just like a concept type of deal. So then on this side, it would be the opposite. So it'd be basically these would be pushed through. I think I can do that without getting rid of the little section right there. Let's see. Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, so this could be like your basically how I seen it. It was like on a chain link or a chain bicycle type of chain, and then it would go up and then come back down. It was just like on a loop type of deal. Let's see, but I put it too close to the other side, so this one really wouldn't work, but that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So yeah, it's like it's kind of sad because like in real life, like I said, you can't really build anything. I mean, especially me. I mean, unless you're like a billionaire, trillionaire, or something, or unless you want to try and get some funding from like the banks, which the banks are like these corrupt organizations, anyways. So like the only thing you really do is like build ideas on something like this, where you don't have to oops, just do that one like that then. Build something like this so you don't have to have any funding. It's just all like, kind of like Minecraft. That's exactly what it reminds me of. All right, I'm gonna push this out. And we'll go and make it. Again first. So how far to go? I think I can play music on. Let's see. I think I can do it on Google Hangouts here, but I'm not entirely sure. There's a drawing one, Ring Central for Hangouts, launch Ring Central conferences, blah, blah, blah. Flat, create music scores, Sound Nation app for creating music with your friends. No. Why isn't there like a. Maybe I can. I don't know. Stupid. Alright, I gotta use the restroom. I'll be right back. Got retarded dogs. I can't fucking stupid sometimes. Not sometimes, most of the times. I take that back. Yeah, it's just really dumb. I mean, I made the last video I was streaming. I was listening to music, and I mean, it's just stupid. Like, I don't understand why artists wouldn't want their music to be heard. Apparently, that's a no-no. I mean, I don't get it. If I was an artist, I would, but what do I know? It's all about making the money. So these would be like the grow beds. Grow your food. All right. Just do one by one, I guess. So. It's funny, you know, people don't, well, I mean, I don't know what to think about the whole thing, but the whole story about Noah's Ark, it's interesting because something like this really could be like an ark, like a, you really could provide everything for yourself, and you could have like a lot of life living on here. Like you could provide, you know, you could have like a lot of different types of animals on here. So it's kind of interesting to think about. So I was raised as a Christian, but I know some of the I take it with a grain of salt because I know a lot of these people are just about control. Just something interesting to think about, though. So there you go. That's like the idea there, and then this one would shift over, and then it would come down on this side, and then it would come up, and then shift, and come up, and shift. So pretty ingenious concepts. And then you can have multiple ones. See, so you have another one and another one. So I probably could copy and paste them, but it's going to be freaking really hard with everything around here. That's one thing I kind of annoying working on this program is it's just see, like you can only select so much, and then sometimes you select too much and you have to go back through, see, and then you have to deselect everything, and sometimes you copy things you don't want, and it's just like freaking irritating. See, it's gonna take me too long to go and deselect everything. I mean, there's all sorts of crap. Anyways, I think the better way to do it here is just to make a rectangle. Like so. Let's see. And then we'll make a smaller one this time because I'm gonna run out of room. Or actually, I'll just do it like this. So we'll bring it all the way on the city edge here. And we'll come back over and go halfway. That's almost gonna be too big. I think that's about right. And then bring it up. See, it's the thing. I would love to have like multiple people working on one project like this, because then it would like really come to life, you know. Because one person like me doing all this, kind of, it's time consuming, but you know, multiple people did it, it would really like develop pretty quickly. So basically, what I'm thinking here, how do I do this? I don't think I can. Yeah, because I was thinking if I just go like start pushing them in. Well, maybe let's try. I need to go. Let's see. Might as well try. I'm not in a hurry, right? Excuse me. But I would really enjoy doing that. I think I would. I've been trying to think of how, you know, you could come up with a. It's not like a multiplayer. It's just like a group SketchUp type of deal, you know, where you have like you and your friends can work on the same project together. I just think that would be awesome. Me and I said that in my last video, but I think because of the stupid music, they took it took the audio out, so I think it took all the audio out, including my voice and stuff. Anyways, my little brother and me were, I showed him how to use SketchUp, and me and him were on TeamViewer, which is like a screen type of sharing deal where you can work together, or you know, talk and show different things in your screen, and you can work on remotely from a computer or whatever. So I had him dial into my computer, and then he was able to like watch what I was doing, and then I was able to watch what he was doing, and we were like working together on it. And it's really fun, but there's no like extension for like SketchUp to do something like that. So that's kind of stupid. You would think they would have something like that. Yeah, I think this will work. All right. Just gotta do it. Do it to it here. Here we go. See, sometimes you can really make it quite easy on yourself if you don't overthink it. Oops, too far. Trying to make them all flush. See, this is, would have been ideal to make these and make the box around it so that I'm not having to work through this stupid glass. It just makes it a lot easier. I mean, I could delete it and then it's, let's see, I'll show you. See, and then I have to go back in and put it back, which probably won't be that big of a deal. All right, yeah, let's just do it. So get it, finish it quicker here. Yeah, I think it's like as I was saying in my video yesterday, but like I said, I don't think the audio is there. Like I always wanted to design video games. I wanted to go to school to learn how to do that. And what's cool about this is that you can basically, that's what I came to realize. I would rather build something in real life, than build something in a video game. Like I used to love video games. I still do. I mean, this is what it reminds me of, pretty much. Reminds me of a video game. But yeah, I wanted to go to school to learn how to design video games, and then I realized that I would rather build stuff in real life, and then I'm only 28, like unless I've done carpentry and I've done different types of building and stuff, but unless you have the resources, you really can't do any of that. So it's kind of stupid. I mean, even if you had a good idea, you have to still go through, like I said, the banks or something to get funding. And I ain't doing that because I don't trust the banks. The banks are scammers. They just, I don't never do that. So, anyways. I think if I can start streaming on YouTube, maybe that's my idea, is I can get some people who are like-minded, who like making things on SketchUp, and then try and make like a program to where we can have multiple people working on this one file at the same time. I think that would be ideal. I don't have money to do anything really, so it's stupid. Money. That's what I've come to realize. Like, money is like a source of like restriction. It's restricting humanity. If you don't have money, then you're not doing it. You can't do anything. So you're really constricted by money. Even if you have good ideas, it doesn't matter, because the person with the money is the ones who are going to say, to be able to give you that ability to do something. So that's where I'm at. And like, well, I just won't do anything then. you know, what's the point of doing anything if, everything requires money? I mean, I was saying yesterday, it's people value watching stupid football players dance around in spandex and play football. These guys aren't producing anything. They're not doing anything. They're just entertaining people, and they get paid like millions and millions of dollars. But that's like what society is focused on. That's more valuable than trying to come up with like ideas like this to figure out like a better way to live, basically. All right, let me put this back on here. Delete that. Put these walls back if I can, hopefully. Pretty close. Let's see. There we go. We gotta make it glass or plexiglass, whatever. There we go. That's back. Awesome. Okay, so now we'll go to this side. We'll do the same thing. And this one will be done. I really want to listen to some music right now, like an audio book or something, but I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna take my. Well, actually, I think. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Audio book. What's his name? James Allen. I like that guy. Excuse me. All right, take my headphones out here. I don't know if it's the audio is reading through my. Okay, it's reading through my computer. I wasn't sure if I was reading through my headphones on. I wasn't sure if I was reading through that or not. Okay, we're going to listen to the 8 Pillars of Prosperity Self-Development. There's a couple different ones. Foundation Stones to Happiness and Success, Self-Development, As a Man Thinketh. How about let's listen to that. As a Man Thinketh. That's by James Allen.
Forward. This little volume, the result of meditation and experience, is not intended as an exhaustive treatise on the much written upon subject of the power of thought. It is suggestive rather than explanatory, its object being to stimulate men and women to the discovery and perception of the truth that they themselves are makers of themselves, by virtue of the thoughts which they choose and encourage, that mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstance, and that, as they may have hitherto woven in ignorance and pain, they may now weave in enlightenment and happiness. James Allen, Broad Park Avenue, Ilfracombe, England. As a Man Thinketh. Thought and character. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every aspect of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought, and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is the blossom suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are by thought was wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him, as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him, as his own shadow. Sure, man is a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice. And cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. A noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long cherished association with godlike thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of groveling thoughts. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thoughts he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more...
I think I'm going to comment about what he's talking about, because I think that's really relevant, especially in today's society, like Western society. We are so bombarded and influenced by outside influences, and it's really hard to escape it. I mean, unless you live in isolation away from everything, which, ideally would be nice. Like I said, it's hard to provide yourself with sustenance and provide yourself with life to survive. Anyways, my point being, we're like bombarded by outside influences like on a regular basis. I made these too small, these too big. That's all right. There you go. Oops. So yeah, like, it's hard to when you're constantly being bombarded by, pretty much like indoctrination from like media and all this bullshit. It's hard to escape it. So it really influences your life. So like what he's talking about, James Allen's talking about, basically we've been bombarded by other people's thoughts, our whole life, and that they've like influenced our life so much so that today, especially, that's why so many people are on like drugs and like are on all these prescription pills and stuff. Every day people are being bombarded by like TV telling us, what kind of pills we need and what kind of this we need and what kind of that we need. And most of these things are like unconscious, you're driving in your car and you're listening to the radio, you'll hear this stuff. If you're watching something on TV, you'll hear this stuff. So it's like, or you'll see a billboard. It's just everywhere, So literally, unless you live in isolation away from it all, then you really won't be influenced by it. But, today, it's really hard to escape all that crap. That's something I can't stand. That's why I would love to buy a piece of property and live in isolation, because you could focus on yourself more. You have that ability to quiet your mind and listen. Most people today can't do that. They don't even want to hear. They go crazy when you don't have anything to, constantly hearing or music or something. I mean, I I like sometimes listening to music. It's not a I'm going to go crazy. Just when I'm working on something like this, it's nice to hear something and to it's kind of like soothing, I guess. Kind of reminds me of playing video games back in the old day, but I don't really do that. I don't play video games anymore. When I when I do, it's something like this, and then it's like building my portfolio. So, anyways, I'm gonna play the audio book. So it's a good one. It's called "As a Man Thinketh" by James Allen, and I hope you enjoy listening to it here. And I know this isn't copyrighted because it's in the public domain, so which is good.
Gladdening or more fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition.
I would say the media is that today. It's the same thing. We're constantly being bombarded with what the media wants us to believe and what they tell us what's relevant and what we can say today and what we can't say, and it's stupid. I can't believe we've let the media have that much power over our minds. Hopefully people start realizing that and taking their own minds back and start doing what's necessary. So anyways, I'm gonna shut up.
Environment and destiny. As being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation and contains within himself that transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Man is always the master, even in his weaker and most abandoned state. But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being, if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, and the builder of his destiny. He may unerringly prove if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself which is understanding, wisdom, power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute, that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a man enter the door of the temple of knowledge. Effect of thought on circumstances. Man's mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weed.
That's pretty relevant today. I mean, even in our colleges, right? Our colleges are teaching like some of the stupidest stuff. I mean, these were like pinnacles of like Western civilization at one point, colleges. And now today they're like teaching like social justice theory and like gender studies and these stupid things that are pretty much irrelevant. I mean, if it wasn't for like the um, for Western society being so successful, it would never have the capability to even talk about those things. I mean, most people in the world are too damn busy trying to freaking get food, like trying to survive, they're not freaking worried about talking about social justice theory and who's gayer and who's more, I'm a tranny. It's just some of the stupidest shit in our society today. And this is exactly what he's talking about right here. Western civilization, Western man has not realized that these are like weeds, like these are like not fruitful thoughts, not fruitful, ideas. So therefore, they shouldn't be cultivated. But yet, at our universities, these things are being taught to us. Not to me. I don't go to university, but people are studying. They're paying money to go and learn that crap. I mean, like, how is this shit relevant? Like, why? Why would they even consider teaching that shit? I mean, it's just like this. I don't even know what to say about it, really. It's just idiocy. So, see, even like something like this, you could have water, like a water catcher up on top, and then it could feed all your plants and stuff. So, or this could be like a second story for food. So anyways, I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And that's like, that's what I'm saying. It's just, it's crazy to me. I don't know. It's not something I subscribe to. I'm trying to like survive in this. It's like a war zone. That's what I think of it as. It's just like a freaking war zone of just mindlessness, like mindless people are consuming the most stupid crap that really at the end of the day, somebody's got to ask, like, how is this benefiting me? Like, what's the point of all that? Like, and people don't even think about that stuff. And that's why, like, the vast majority, I mean, we have like a huge homeless problem. Like, so many people are on drugs. So many people are unemployed. So many people are, like sick and like unhealthy. But we're going to talk about social justice theory and being who's gay and, have a tranny freaking president, first lady, like, and then it's just insanity to me. I can't stand it. Oh, I just laugh about it sometimes because I can't. I don't really know what else to think about it sometimes. So other than that, it's complete idiocracy, complete stupidity. Ugh. So this is maybe I should label these things so I know. Obviously, you know what they are. Add right there. We'll make it bigger. Actually, let's put up right here water storage. And that's like our main reason why I don't want to raise children in this society. It's like you would have to be stupid. There's water storage. Here's your food. And then just to give children like iPhones and iPads and stuff, it's just so. I mean, that's like giving, you're giving a child like access to anything they want. If a child doesn't even know how to control their own mind, it's probably not a good idea to give a child like something they have access to, like anything they want. It's like I use this analogy. This is my personal analogy. I think of it as this way: like you wouldn't give somebody a gun that didn't know how to operate a gun. You don't give somebody a freaking cell phone or like a computer unless can they know what they're doing, because it's just not good. It's not healthy. It's not right. And it shouldn't be done. But nowadays everybody's got a damn cell phone. These kids are like 12 years old, 13, 14 years old, and they got cell phones. It's stupid. My little brother, he got his first cell phone when he was like in 6th grade. I mean, I didn't have a cell phone until I bought my own damn cell phone. Gosh, that's just not. It's not smart. It's not smart. Like I said, it's like giving a child a damn gun and then not telling the child how to operate the gun. It's like you are setting him up for disaster. I mean, you have to have um, like you need to know what you're doing before you operate something like that. It's just not smart. And that's what's going on today, but who am I to say? I'm just a stupid kid. I'm just a stupid idiot. So, anyway, I'm going to play it. Here we go.
And growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul, the director of his life. He also reveals within himself the laws of thought and understands with ever increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of his character, circumstances, and destiny. Thought and character are one. And as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to his inner state.
I'll be right back.
This does not mean that a man's circumstances at any given time are an indication of his entire character, but that those circumstances are so intimately connected with some vital thought element within himself that, for the time being, they are indispensable to his development. Every man is where he is by the law of his being. The thoughts which he has built into his character have brought him here, and in the arrangement of his life there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true of those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. As a progressive and evolving being, man is where he is that he may learn, that he may grow. And as he learns the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for him, it passes away and gives place to other circumstances. Man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions. But when he realizes that he is a creative power, and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself. That circumstances grow out of thought every man knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification. for he will have noticed that the alteration in his circumstances has been in exact ratio with his altered mental condition. So true is this, that when a man earnestly applies himself to remedy the defects in his character and makes swift and marked progress, he passes rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. The soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. In region.
I would also say, that's not entirely true. I mean, especially if you're being like influenced from the outside world, it's not necessarily what your soul desires, right? Somebody can impose something upon you, and that will have a major influence on you. So it's not necessarily true that your soul desires it. It might just be somebody else's soul desires it, so therefore they try and influence others, right? So that's it's kind of interesting to think about there.
Is the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires, and circumstances are the means by which the soul receives its own. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. Good thoughts bear good fruit, bad thoughts, bad fruit. The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought, and both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both by suffering and bliss. Following the inmost desires, aspirations, thoughts by which he allows himself to be dominated, pursuing the will-o'-the-wisps of impure imaginings, or steadfastly walking the highway of strong and high endeavor, a man at last arrives at their fruition and fulfillment in the outer conditions of his life. The laws of growth and adjustment everywhere obtains. A man does not come to the almshouse or the jail by the tyranny of fate or circumstance, but by the pathway of groveling thoughts and base desires. Nor does a pure-minded man fall suddenly into crime by stress of any mere external force. The criminal thought had long been secretly fostered in the heart, and the hour of opportunity revealed its gathered power. Circumstance does not make the man. It reveals him to himself. No such conditions can exist as descending into vice and its attendant sufferings apart from vicious inclinations, or ascending into virtue and its pure happiness without the continued cultivation of virtuous aspirations. And man, therefore, as lord and master of thought, is the maker of himself, the shaper and author of environment. Even at birth, the soul comes to its own, and through every step of its earthly pilgrimage it attracts those combinations of conditions which reveal itself, which are the reflections of its own purity and impurity, its strength and weakness. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires are fed with their own food, be it foul or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends is in ourselves. It is our very self. Only himself manacles man. Thought and action are the jailers of fate. They imprison being base. They are also the angels of freedom. They liberate being noble. Not what he wishes and prays for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified in answer when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time he is nourishing and preserving its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of a unconscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of its possessor and thus calls aloud for remedy. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is as true of earthly as of heavenly beings. Even the man whose sole object is to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well-poised life. Here is a man who is wretchedly poor. He is extremely anxious that his surroundings and home comforts should be improved. Yet all the time he shirks his work and considers he is justified in trying to deceive his employer on the ground of the insufficiency of his wages. Such a man does not understand the simplest rudiments of those principles which are the basis of true prosperity, and is not only totally unfitted to rise out of his wretchedness, but is actually attracting himself a still deeper wretchedness by dwelling in and acting out indolent, deceptive, and unmanly thoughts. Here is a rich man who is the victim of a painful and persistent disease as...
So sometimes I don't know what to think about that. Like, the whole, what is it called? The power of attraction or something like that. Or basically, like we're going to attract what, the law of attraction. There you go. Sorry. I watched a video and it was this lady, and she was basically saying like, the law of attraction is bullshit, because if you were like basically abused your whole life, right? If you're abused, did you like, are you attracting that? Like how are you the one capable of, how is that your fault? And then like you could have like misery that comes from being abused, and then you could have like thoughts of suicide that come from your misery that came from your abuse. So it's like how the law of attraction, like you're not the one who wanted to be abused, so it's like, are you really the one who initiated that? Are you the one that pretty much, are you basically what she was saying, like, it's, can't blame somebody for something that happened and tell them that they basically it's their fault when something externally was affecting them. You know what I mean? So it was quite interesting to hear her say that, and I tend to agree, because like if you get abused, like that's not your fault, and it's not, you're not attracting that, like something else, it's, that it's something else outside of you did that. I mean, that's not to just to say, to pretty much to like say there's no blame, or there's what am I trying to say, like basically that there's no way to get out from under that, but like you can't blame yourself, and then you can't blame that person, or you can't blame, what I'm trying to say is you can't blame yourself, like, and that's what the law of attraction tries to say, is like, oh, well, it's your fault, like, and I just don't agree with that. Like, it's, shit sucks sometimes, people don't want to be abused. Like, that's insanity. Like, who asks who asks to be abused? Like, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Yes, I would like to be abused today." Like, where do I sign up for that? I want to be abused. Like, nobody does that. So uh, the law of attraction is kind of a lie when it comes to that. Nobody wants to be abused. And so, anyways, I just thought I would add that in there. Like, it's kind of interesting to think about because I'm pretty sure nobody wants to be abused. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Yes, I would like to be abused today." That's something I would ideally like to be. Like, no, I'm sorry, no. Nobody wants to be abused. That's retarded. And that's like our society today. They believe like you need to discipline your children. Like, that's crap. Like, that's abuse in and of itself to discipline your children. Like, really? Like, why should you discipline your children? Like, I mean, especially there's like a lot of mental abuse to children today. Like, shit, I've witnessed that personally. Like, it's not a good thing. I would advise anybody doing that to their children. I mean, I would never, ever, ever, ever do that to my children when I have children, if I do have children, which I want to have children. But, I would never abuse my children and then blame my children, and say, "Oh, well, you deserved it." That's insanity. Like, who deserves to be abused? That's stupid. Like, you would have to be like a nut job to believe that. Like, I don't think so. It's not how it works. Anyways. Oops. Let's see. Anyways, I'm gonna play it here.
The result of gluttony. He is willing to give large sums of money to get rid of it, but he will not sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He wants to gratify his taste for rich and unnatural viands and have his health as well. Such a man is totally unfit to have health because he has not yet learned the first principles of a healthy life. Here is an employer of labor who adopts crooked measures to avoid paying the regulation wage and, in the hope of making larger profits, reduces the wages of his work people. Such a man is altogether unfitted for prosperity, and when he finds himself bankrupt, both as regards reputation and riches, he blames circumstances, not knowing that he is the sole author of his condition. I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth that man is the causer, though nearly always is unconsciously, of his circumstances, and that whilst aiming at a good end, he is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases could be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the listener can, if he so resolves, trace the action of the laws of thought in his own mind and life, and until this is done, mere external facts cannot serve as a ground of reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so vastly with individuals, that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspect of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prospers because of his particular dishonesty, is the result of a superficial judgment which assumes that the dishonest man is almost totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of a deeper knowledge and wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have some admirable virtues which the other does not possess, and the honest man results of his honest thoughts and acts, he also brings upon himself the sufferings which his vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garners his own suffering and happiness. It is pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of one's virtue, but not until a man has extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind, and washed every sinful stain from his soul, can he be in a position to know and declare that his sufferings are the result of his good and not of his bad qualities. And on the way to, yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection, he will have found, working in his mind and life, the great law which is absolutely just, and which cannot therefore give good for evil, evil for good. Possessed of such knowledge, he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving yet unevolved self.
Sometimes I just don't agree. It's like, how can somebody that's been abused be not, what are you trying to say? You need to be abused to be evolved? Like, that's fucking retarded, So I take everything with a grain of salt that people say, because it's just, some things are just not believable to me. I mean, I like James Allen, but when you take things into consideration, like, it's just hard to believe, like, people who have been abused in their life, it's not their fault. You can't say, oh, well, it's part of your evolution. Like, that's fucking retarded. Like, no. I don't need to be abused to be, to evolve. That's fucking retarded. That's basically what he's saying right here, which I just don't agree with. So, anyways.
Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. This is but saying that nothing can come from corn but corn, nothing from nettles but nettles. Men understand this law in the natural world and work with it, but few understand it in the mental and moral world, though its operation there is just as simple and undeviating, and they therefore do not cooperate with it. Suffering is always the effect of wrong thought in some direction. It is an indication that the individual...
True, but suffering can also be imposed upon you, so it's not your thought. It's not you that's, it's not, you're not the one who's, has the wrong thought. It could be somebody else that's doing it and who has abused you. So, I don't think James Allen really thought that out. People can be abused and then be wrongfully abused by somebody else, and could sorry, I'm trying to think of what I'm gonna do next, and then think about what he was saying, and then trying to talk. It's kind of hard, but somebody could be abused, and that's not their fault, and then you're like I said, that could lead to more abuse or more psychological abuse or trauma. So, it's not always the person's fault. If somebody has bad thoughts, it's probably because something bad has happened to them in their life. It's really that simple. And it's really easy for somebody to say, oh, well, just get over it, But for somebody who doesn't really understand where you're coming from, it's easy for them to say, but, it's really harmful saying that, unless you understand where that person's coming from, then you really have no right in saying anything, you know what I mean? You shouldn't you shouldn't be able to tell anybody, oh, just get over it, you know. So, anyways.
Is out of harmony with himself, with the law of his being. The sole and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases for him who is pure. There could be no object in burning gold after the dross had been removed, and a perfectly pure and enlightened being could not suffer. The circumstances which a man encounters with...
I don't think that's true. I think everybody suffers, you know? Everybody suffers, you know, it's a fact. I mean, you could say they don't, but people psychologically suffer, even though they might not say it, you know, like... it's interesting re-listening to the audio book here and taking a your own perspective and looking at it a little differently. You know, I don't know. It's kind of, I would never blame somebody who's been abused and just say, oh, well, it's because you're not evolved enough, you know, like that's fucking retarded. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't just say, oh, you need to evolve. Suffering's a part of life, man. Like, not everybody needs to be abused, and I don't think, you know, being abused is, I think that's, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I don't think it's, you're being I think it's like external, to be honest. Like, you know, a lot of things externally that we can't help really frustrate people. I know personally because it frustrates me. It's like I was talking about having, you know, having good ideas and wanting to do stuff and build stuff and come up with ideas and stuff, but not having the money to do it or whatever. Like, that annoys me. You know, it frustrates me. It doesn't mean, oh, I'm not evolved enough. Like, ooh. Like, no, that's retarded. Like, it just, I'm just thinking out loud, and you know, it's, I don't know. Sometimes I just question things because, you know, it's hard because it's external, you know, that's like external. Like, I can't change that right now, so I have to live with it, you know. It's like somebody who gets abused. Like, they can't change not being abused, but they still have to live with it, you know. It's the same thing. Like, people say, oh, well, just get over it, you know. It's like, okay, well, it's easy for you to say that, but until you get abused, then you will you'll feel otherwise, you know. Like, you can't just say get over it, you know. Like, it's just retarded. It sounds retarded. Like, I don't know.
Suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with blessedness are the result of his own mental harmony. Blessedness, not material possessions, is the measure of right thought. Vengeance, not lack of material possessions, is the measure of wrong thought. A man may be cursed and rich, he may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used, and the poor man only descends into wretchedness when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are the two extremes of wretchedness. They are both equally unnatural and the result of mental disorder. A man is not rightly conditioned until he is a happy, healthy, and prosperous being, and happiness, health, and prosperity are the result of a harmonious adjustment of the inner with the outer, of the man with his surroundings. A man not only begins to be a justice which regulates his life, and as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against circumstances, but begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress and as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself. Law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life, and righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right, and during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alters his thoughts toward things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is in every person, and it therefore admits of easy investigation by systematic introspection and self-analysis. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid transformation it will effect in the material conditions of his life. Men imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. Bestial thoughts crystallize into habits of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, unmanly, and irresolute habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of foulness and beggary. Hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of self-seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, which solidify into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits of temperance and self-control, which solidify into circumstances of repose and peace. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decision crystallize into manly habits, which solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habits of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into circumstances of pleasantness. Gentle and forgiving thoughts crystallize into habits of gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. A particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. Nature helps every man to the gratification of the thoughts which he most encourages, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface both the good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his sinful thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and lo, opportunities will spring up on every hand to aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to wretchedness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combinations of colors which at every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. So you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content in that poor word, environment, conquers space. It cows that boastful trickster chance, and bids the tyrant circumstance uncrown and fill a servant's place. The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way to any goal, though walls of granite intervene. Be not impatient in delays, but wait as one who understands. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. Effect of thought on health and the body. The body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, and they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the entrance of disease, while impure thoughts, even if not physically indulged, will soon shatter the nervous system. Strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. The body is a delicate and plastic instrument which responds readily to the thoughts by which it is impressed, and habits of thought will produce their own effects, good or bad, upon it. Men will continue to have impure and poisoned blood so long as they propagate unclean thoughts. Out of a clean heart comes a clean life and a clean body. Out of a defiled mind proceeds a defiled life and a corrupt body. Thought is the fount of action, life, and manifestation. Make the fountain pure, and all will be pure. Change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Clean thoughts make clean habits. The so-called saint who does not wash his body is not a saint. He who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. If you would protect your body, guard your mind. If you would renew your body, beautify your mind. Thoughts of malice, envy, disappointment, despondency rob the body of its health and grace. A sour face does not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts. Wrinkles that mar are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. I know a woman of 96 who has the bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is the result of a sweet and sunny disposition, the other is the outcome of passion and discontent. As you cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit the air and sunshine freely into your rooms, so a strong body and a bright, happy, or serene countenance can only result from the free admittance into the mind of thoughts of joy and goodwill and serenity. On the faces of the aged there are wrinkles made by sympathy, others by strong and pure thought, and others are carved by passion. Who cannot distinguish them? With those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed, like the setting sun. I have recently seen a philosopher on his deathbed. He was not old, except in years. He died as sweetly and peacefully as he had lived. There is no physician like cheerful thought for dissipating the ills of the body. There is no comforter to compare with goodwill for dispersing the shadows of grief and sorrow. To live continually in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, and envy is to be confined in a self-made prison hole. But to think well of all, to be cheerful with all, to patiently learn to find the good in all, such unselfish thoughts are the very portals of heaven, and to dwell day by day in thoughts of peace toward every creature will bring abounding peace to their possessor. thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weakness, which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins, though by a different route, to failure, unhappiness, and loss. For weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought forces upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty, and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. The weakest soul, knowing its own weakness, and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will, thus believing, at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Having conceived of his purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. The will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are the great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purposes are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit, which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Thought, allied fearlessly to purpose, becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. The thought factor in achievement. All that a man achieves, and all that he fails to achieve, is the direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe, where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own, and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another, and they can only be altered by himself, never by another. His condition is also his own, and not another man's. His suffering and his happiness are evolved from within. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped, and even then the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. It has been usual for men to think and to say, many men are slaves because one is an oppressor. Let us hate the oppressor. Now, however, there is amongst an increasing few a tendency to reverse this judgment and to say, one man is an oppressor because many are slaves. Let us despise the slaves. The truth is that oppressor and slave are cooperators in ignorance, and while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves. The perfect knowledge perceives the action of law in the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. A perfect love, seeing the suffering, which both states entail, condemns neither. A perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thoughts belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He may not, in order to succeed, give up all animality and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it must at least be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial indulgence and would fail in any undertaking. Not having commenced to manfully control his thoughts, he is not in a position to control affairs and to adopt serious responsibilities. He is not fit to act independently and stand alone. But he is limited only by the thoughts which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice, and a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes. The greater will be his success, the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on the mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so. It helps the honest, the magnanimous, the virtuous. All the great teachers of the ages have declared this in varying forms, and to prove and know it, a man has but to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. Intellectual achievements are the result of thought consecrated to the search for knowledge, or for the beautiful and true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are the natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and of pure and unselfish thoughts. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts, he who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon its full, become wise and noble in character, and rise into a position of influence and blessedness. Achievement, of whatever kind, is the crown of effort, the diadem of thought. By the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought, a man ascends. By the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought, a man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. Visions and ideals. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solitary dreams. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as realities, which it shall one day see and know. Composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage. These are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart, will one day realize it. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and he discovered it. Copernicus fostered the vision of a multiplicity of worlds and a wider universe, and he revealed it. Buddha beheld the vision of a spiritual world of stainless beauty and perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions. Cherish your ideals. Cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts, for out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environment. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. To desire is to obtain. To aspire is to achieve. Shall man's basest desires receive the fullest measure of gratification, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustenance? Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Ask and receive. Dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The greatest achievement was at first, and for a time, a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn. The bird waits in the egg. And in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of realities. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so if you but perceive an ideal and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth, hard-pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled, and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside, and, with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. Years later, we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequaled power. In his hands, he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, Lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their characters, and, sun-like, he becomes the fixed and luminous center round which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. And you too, youthful listener, will realize the vision, not the idle wish, of your heart, be it base or beautiful, or a mixture of both, for you will always gravitate toward that which you secretly most love. Into your hands will be placed the exact results of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you earn, no more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fall, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as your controlling desire, as great as your dominant aspiration. In the beautiful words of Stanton Kirkham Davis, you may be keeping accounts, and presently you shall walk out of the door that for so long has seemed to you the barrier of your ideals, and shall find yourself before an audience, the pen still behind your ear, the ink stains on your fingers, and then and there shall pour out the torrent of your inspiration. You may be driving sheep, and you shall wander to the city bucolic and open-mouthed, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of the Spirit into the studio of the Master, and after a time he shall say, I have nothing more to teach you, and now you have become the Master, who did so recently dream of great things while driving sheep. You shall lay down the saw and the plane to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. The thoughtless, the ignorant, and the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of things and not the things themselves, talk of luck, of fortune, and chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they say, how lucky he is. Observing another become intellectual, they exclaim, how highly favored he is. And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark, how chance aids him at every turn. They do not see the trials and failures and struggles which these men have voluntarily encountered in order to gain their experience, have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, of the undaunted efforts they have put forth, of the faith they have exercised, that they might overcome the apparently insurmountable and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heartaches. They only see the light and joy and call it luck. They do not see the long and arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results, and the strength of the effort is the measure of the result. Chance is not. Gifts, powers, material, intellectual, and spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts completed, objects accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by. This you will become. Serenity. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. The man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought-evolved being, for such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve, and remains poised, steadfast, serene. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of him and rely upon him. The The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity. For people will always prefer to deal with a man whose demeanor is strongly equable. The strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines, or what changes come to those possessing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold. How insignificant mere money-seeking looks in comparison with a serene life, a life that dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the eternal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self-control. How few people we meet in life who are well balanced, who have that exquisite poise which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrolled passion, is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever you may be, under whatsoever conditions you may live, know this: in the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master, who does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still.
Well, there you go. That was As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That was pretty good. I do agree. Man needs to learn how to control his thoughts. Once he controls his thoughts, he'll control his actions, and then he'll have full control. And yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to look up some. Get some. This is why I think the education system has failed. I mean, if I had an educator that I could stick with for 12 years that was able to teach me things that I needed to know, not things I didn't need to know, I'd be a lot better off. Not that I'm blaming anybody, but when yeah, I just think the education system is a failure. I mean, it's pretty self-evident to me that that's true. That I don't blame anybody. I just instead of complaining about how bad the education system is, I'd rather end it and figure out what's a better way to go about it. I mean, it seems like the logical thing to do to me. But anyways, I'm going to end I was going to add some cows and some chickens and maybe some sheep and I don't know what else over here.
Basically, this is like a livestock area. That's what I'm thinking, anyways. I think I'm going to end it here after I get done doing this part. And I think I'm going to go to the gym this morning. I think the audiobook helped me realize what I should be doing. Focusing more on what's important to me, which this is important. I like doing the sketch up here. This is something I enjoy doing. All right. Let's do another one here. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the audiobook. I'll try and pick another one out next time. And can talk about it and discuss it while we work on our project here. All right, so there you go. There's 4 areas there. And for the livestock area, make sure the walls are high enough so they don't jump out and anything like that. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. But yeah, I think the the education system I just think the education system has really failed people. I mean, it's quite obvious to me, but it teaches you one plus one. It's like, yeah, I need to go to school to learn that. I would have figured that out anyways. But yep, education system is a failure. And does that mean I'm blaming anybody? No, I'm just stating the obvious. And the obvious fact of the matter is that it does a lot of good things, but it also does a lot of bad things that really don't benefit anybody, and you basically waste 12 years of your life there. I mean, your most youthful years of your life you're spending in a classroom. I mean, that's like child abuse. Children like being outside, running around and learning and actually doing hands-on things, but you spend 12 years of your education system today locked in a classroom, and you're told that's education. So I have a different opinion about that, but what do you say? I don't really know, because people think you're hating on the education system. No, I'm just stating the facts. I mean, when most of the people come out of school, and then most people don't even make it through school. So you got a vast majority of people who are dropping out of school, and then you got a vast majority of people who go through school, and then like they don't even it's not even useful information. I mean, why should I study things that aren't relevant to what I would want to use in my life? I mean, I shouldn't have to study biology if I'm not going to be a biologist, right? Shouldn't have to study I mean, of course, study language, but I mean, like the in-depth language, unless I'm going to be like a linguistic or something, shouldn't have to study certain subjects unless that's what I want to, further my education in. I mean, it has to be like a revamping of what education means. And, for me, education it wasn't there.
in the audiobook there. You have to have some sort of some goal. You have to have some sort of direction. And that's what school, it's just like you have like all these different classes, and then you're supposed to like take all these different classes each year, and then when you graduate high school, then you're supposed to figure out what you want to do. I mean, how stupid is that? Instead of like directing children to the things they want to be doing in life, no, we're just like putting them in school together, and then with all these different subjects, and then telling them once they graduate, okay, now go figure out what you want to do. I mean, to me, it would make more sense to like direct children in the right direction to where they want to go. I mean, for me, like I said, I wanted to design video games, but if I would have known that I could have been like an architect and design things, you know, do like 3D modeling and do things like this, then I would have done this a long time ago. But there was no direction. There wasn't even any classes to do this kind of thing, you know. And I think that's unfortunate, you know. Like, I didn't want to, like, I had a Spanish class in school. Like, I'm not even Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. Why the heck should I take a Spanish class? You know, there's so much bullshit, you know. And then me just talking about that and telling people about how I feel. It's like, why are you being so negative? It's like, I'm not. I'm trying to talk about a situation here so that we can like either figure out a better solution, or we could, you know, work around it and do something different. You know, I mean, it's just, if it didn't work for me, it's not going to work for other children. You know, there's got to be a better way around it. There's got to be a better solution here. And right now it's not working. I mean, it's not working. It hasn't worked. This is why we have more educated people in this country than ever before, but yet we aren't solving the problems of our country or any, you know, we can't even solve the basic problems. Yeah. Oh, it's just ridiculous to me, but I don't know what to say. It's just, it's how I feel. I mean, a lot of people feel that the education system is just not adequate. It's just not, especially for the money. I mean, the amount of money they spend each year on each student could, I mean, theoretically, you could use that towards what the student wants to do in life, you know? I mean, I think these technical schools or these magnet schools, or you know, even like, well, that's like being an autodidactic is self-teaching, you know, it's teaching yourself. And I mean, if you had a good mentor that could help you self-teach yourself, then you wouldn't need like to be in a classroom with 50 other students and then not have any sort of communication with the teacher that you're just going to change out next year. And then next year after that, you're going to have a different teacher. Next year after that, you're going to have a different teacher. Next year after that, you're going to have a different teacher. I mean, it's just, there's no consistency, you know, and this is what so many kids are lacking. They're lacking a sense of consistency in life today. You know, when you don't have a sense of structure and consistency, then you're going to lack that later on in life. I mean, yeah, sure, school is very structured today. You have class A, class B, class C, class D, but you know, all these classes are just like things that you don't even care to study. That's why I ask my little brother every time I talk to him, I say, you know, like, what'd you learn at school today? He said, nothing. What'd you learn at school today? Nothing. What'd you learn at school today? Nothing. Like, what the hell are you going for then? Like, just to waste your time? I mean, like, is it a fashion show? That's what he cares more about, what he wears, than he does like what he learns. It's like, I don't know. I know what it, I felt the same way when I went to school. It's like a fashion show, you know. It's like, who looks the coolest and who's the coolest and da, 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 da. It's not about like, you know, who's the smartest and, you know, what's your goals and where are we going and what do you want to do and blah blah blah. No, it's just completely lacking of that. It's just, oh man, I don't even know how to explain it really sometimes. I mean, most of the people know this, but don't want to talk about the problem. Anyways, I'm going to end it here. Maybe I'll do another video here shortly. I think I'm going to go to the gym. So I will talk to you all later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.